Welcome back to the CommittedConservative.com. I'm Rich Kelsey. I'm committed and I'm a conservative. And this is the long-awaited 2019 inaugural edition of Fired Up Friday. And man, it's been a while and I'm really fired up. And what are we fired up about today? Well, how about the wall, the shutdown, and what I'm now calling toxic tribalism, or if you like, toxic stupidity, because tribalism is stupidity. So let's walk through these things quickly and one at a time. Okay, first let's start with the shutdown. This may not be a very popular view. I don't care how you feel about the size of the federal government. I think it's too big. I think it's inefficient. I don't think we need as many departments, and I don't think in most departments we don't need as many people as we have. And by the way, that doesn't mean we don't need to augment with great people other departments which could use additional employees and additional resources. At the end of the day, I'm a limited government guy. See the Constitution over my shoulder? That's what it's about, limited federal government. But I think there's a lot of confusion, particularly among conservatives and overwhelmingly among many federal employees who I know personally, whom I like, and whom I respect. Your jobs are important. The reason they're important is that those 800,000 jobs serve 300 million Americans. That's what makes them important. And that's why the shutdown is an outrage. It's not an outrage per se that you're out of work and you've missed paychecks. Let me tell you something. I am sympathetic, deeply sympathetic to the notion that you're missing paychecks and that a government would force people to work and not pay them. Okay, so I'm on your side on that part. But we don't reopen the government because of that. We reopen the government primarily because its function is to serve the American people. And in the service of the American people, you fine employees have the right to be paid, you should be paid, and I'm for you getting paid. You understand? This shutdown is a complete failure on the part of our entire government. And here's the part where tribalism kicks in. Okay? Guess what? The government shutdown is whoever's fault the other side is, right? Right? Let me talk to anybody. Read these Facebook posts. Insufferably stupid Facebook posts by people who purportedly have educations from accredited universities. Okay? At the end of the day, this government shutdown is a failure of leadership by both parties. Here's a clue for you, fellow Americans, particularly those who don't understand conservatism. Your party sucks. Okay? Never liked that word very much, but it fits perfectly here. Your party, it sucks. There's two major parties. They both suck. When you realize that one is just the flip side of the other, and that what the parties have done is got you to fight with each other at the expense of America and for the purpose and benefit of the party and party apparatus, that's when America will improve. So right now you read these Facebook posts and everything is either the Republicans' fault or Trump's fault or the Democrats' fault or Nancy Pelosi's fault. It's all their faults. They have one job. That job is to govern for the benefit of the American people. Now, I'm happy to apportion more blame to one side than the other, and I could do that. It's pretty simple, okay? So let's talk about the wall. I've never been a huge fan of the wall. The wall is a simple tool, and it's an important tool, but it's not the answer. It is an answer. It is part of the resolution. And I've written dozens of pieces on this. It's a small part, but an important part. Now, we have a $4.4 trillion budget, federal budget. It's outrageous. It's ridiculous. It's an absurdity. Pick an adjective. That's what it is. Okay? $5.7 billion. We can't come up with $5.7 billion for a national security issue? For months, years, decades, we have heard there is a crisis at the border. Just 6-8 months ago, the radical left caterwauling and crying like babies. Border crisis, separation crisis, young kids being taken away from parents, people flooding the border. Now all of a sudden, crisis? There's no crisis at the border. Mr. and Mrs. America and Ms. America, okay? There's 20 to 40 million illegal aliens in this country. You could keep buying the nonsense figure of the federal government that there's been 11 million illegal aliens in the country for the last 40 years. Nobody on earth believes that. My old hometown has 10,000 people in it, and it probably has 20,000 illegal aliens. It's 1.6 square miles, and it's 2,000 miles from the Mexican border. Trust me, there are tens of millions of illegal aliens, and then there are tens of millions of people whose lives are intertwined with illegal aliens. Mixed families, children who are the offspring of illegal aliens who now, under the law, as it's at least currently and has been for 100 years, interpreted are in fact Americans. I have a problem with that, not the purpose of this discussion. But the point is, this crisis has been going on for a long time. There are innumerable reasons for it, okay? Roe v. Wade eliminated a large part of our population. 1981, Plyler v. Doe, the federal government says that you can't ask illegal aliens at the state level whether or not they're citizens before you enroll them in school. So your federal government gave a constitutional right to foreigners to attend our state schools without being questioned. That's a problem, and it's an incentive, and the incentive drove people here. The missing people drove people here. The great Ronald Reagan, the greatest president of my lifetime, a man who won nearly every state, okay, popular man, he grants amnesty. Unmitigated, unadulterated, unfettered disaster. Because what he says is, come here, seek these incentives, stay long enough, and we'll let you off the hook. And the floodgates just poured open. Not coincidentally, as the economy grew, we got into the 80s and 90s, and now the effects of abortion, legalized abortion, and missing people is big. So you need more people in the labor market, right? Yes, and they have incentives to come here because labor is better, life is better, education is better. We get all of this. The flood is a result of a set of incentives that are absurd, but the flood is real. You can deny the flood of illegal immigration, but that makes you an idiot. It makes you ill-informed, uninformed, and frankly, not even worthy of being in the discussion. So yes, we have a national emergency, and yes, the wall will stop people. It's not going to stop everybody. I mean, let's face it. There are parts of this world where the countries are so bad, economies are so bad, the violence is so bad, the economics are so bad, that people will try to get here no matter what. And there are ways to deal with that, okay? Can't deal with that in this particular video, but I've dealt with it in dozens of my writings. But what it will stop is the rampant illegal crossing of our border by anyone who can just run across a boundary for which there is no obstacle. A wall will slow people. Trust me, there's a reason there's walls around prisons. There's a reason why there's walls and barriers around things that are important and valuable. Why? They're not the only answer, but they slow down large numbers of people who have no business on those properties or coming across those borders. This is not rocket science. I'm not asking you if you've got a 93 IQ to think like a 140 IQ person. I'm simply telling you that which you intuitively already know. Our immigration system is broken. Immigration's great. We're a nation of immigrants. I like lawful immigration. I love people, and I don't care what country they come from. What I care about, what conservatives care about, what Americans care about is, do they come here to share our values, to add value to America, and not just to come to America for its benefits, but to come to America to be Americans, to enhance the American dream and vision. That's what we're looking for. We don't care where they come from. But what we do care about is, do they come here legally? Are they vetted? Do we know who they are? Do we have a say, like I do at my house, as to who comes in? You know what? I go to friends' houses all the time. You know where I go? I go to the front door and I knock. These are people I know. These are people who like me. These are people who will let me in their house. And I knock at their front door and I seek permission. What I don't do is go to a stranger's home and sneak through the back window. You know why? It's crime. It's a good idea. It's a terrible idea, unless, of course, you're looking to get shot, particularly in my neighborhood. Okay? This is the problem, and it's been happening for decades under Reagan, under the first Bush, under the Clintons, under the second Bush, under Obama, right? That's what the wall is about. It's not the solution, it's a solution. So I'll leave you with one more thought. I'm a lawyer. I've negotiated settlements and various other arrangements by and between parties of every shape and size. I'm trying to imagine a scenario where I'm sitting before a judge or a mediator or a panel of individuals, and I say to them, well, look, we're talking about 4.4 trillion here, but we're about 5.7 billion apart, and you know what? That's it. I draw the line. He laughed out of the room, okay? This is pure politics, pure politics. And I know, I've heard it, I've read it. This is what happens when stupid, toxic stupidity spills out in the form of tribalism. Well, the Republicans had the government for 2 years and they did nothing. Why didn't they build a wall? Well, actually, you need 60 votes for an appropriation out of the Senate. And they've never had 60 votes because they never had a majority. The Democrats have been an obstacle for those past 2 years. They're just a larger obstacle now. I don't know if you know it or not, but when you rushed out to the polls and you gave control and more control back to the Democrats in the name of the blue wave and the resistance so that you could resist this president no matter what, you voted for this shutdown, this resistance, this intransigence, this tribalism. It's ridiculous. What we need, whether you're a Republican, whether you're a Democrat, whether you're a liberal or a progressive, whether you're a conservative, we need people willing to make smart decisions based on real facts, real data that benefit first and primarily the American people and American citizens. And we don't have to be ashamed about that. What we have now is this toxic tribalism. Everybody's in the red, everybody's in the blue, everybody's on this team, and everybody's on that team. You know what conservatives are? They're on the American team. We're for Americans. Let's put our federal employees back to work where they belong, serving our people, okay? And let's put these politicians in a room and have them make smart, effective policy that makes sense to address a problem that everybody in this country knows and understands. Might have different opinions about, might want different kinds of outcomes, might have different incentives for wanting different outcomes. But at the end of the day, we've negotiated much tougher issues than this. Let's sit down and secure our borders. Let's fix our immigration system. Let's put Americans back to work for America. Okay? It's not that complicated. I'm Rich Kelsey here at The Committed Conservative. We're going to try to get back to regular segments of Fired Up Friday. I like these. I enjoy these. And no, for those of you who watch them, these are single takes and I don't edit them. Okay? I make this stuff up off the top of my head, which should be pretty obvious. But anyway, the long and short of it is we are on these issues, not as red team or blue team, not as conservatives, but as Americans. And once you start to realize that the problems in this country are not either the conservatives or the liberals, but both the conservatives and liberals as they are arranged in this two-party apparatus, that's our problem. And when you realize that we have to start thinking like Americans for the benefit of America, maybe we can get back to responsible governance. I don't see that anywhere in our future. But if I do. I'll report it right here at Committed Conservative. I'm Rich Kelsey. Thanks for tuning in. Look forward to talking to you a lot more over 2019.